In the shadow of the Orion Nebula, the Confederation fleet gathered for their yearly celebration. The massive ships formed a circle, their lights blinking against the backdrop of colorful cosmic gas. Admiral Krazet stood on the command deck of her flagship. Her scaled skin shimmered under the blue lights of the bridge. 300 years since the human problem was solved. She thought she raised her ceremonial blade high. The other alien leaders watched from their ships on the large screen. Before her today, we honor those who saved our galaxy from the humans, Krazat said. Her voice was deep and powerful. The humans were dangerous. They spread too fast. They asked too many questions. They built too many weapons. Our ancestors were wise to end them before they ended us. The aliens cheered. Their voices came through the speakers, filling the command room. Krazat smiled, showing her sharp teeth. She had never seen a human herself. They existed only in history books. But her grandmother had fought in the final battle, the one that burned Earth and all human colonies, the one that ended the human threat forever. Far away at the edge of charted space, Susan Miller yawned. She had been watching the monitors for 8 hours. Nothing ever happened at the Deep Space Monitoring Station Twilight Vigil. It was just her job to watch for unusual activity, but there never was any. The galaxy had been peaceful since the humans were wiped out. 300 years of quiet, Susan stood up to get more coffee. Her dark hair was tied back in a neat bun. Her blue uniform showed she was a commander, though there was no one here to command. The station was mostly automated. She was here because regulations said someone had to be, as she reached. For her coffee mug, the alert sounded. Susan spun around, her heart beating faster. She rushed back to the monitor. The screen showed something unusual. An energy reading from near Proxima Centauri. That was strange. Proxima Centauri was an abandoned system. No one went there anymore. It had been a human colony once before the war. Susan called Olivia Wright, the science officer. Olivia had been sleeping in her quarters. She arrived quickly, her blonde hair messy from sleep. "What is it?" she asked, rubbing her eyes. Susan pointed at the screen. "Look at this energy signature. It's not in our database." Olivia leaned closer. Her eyes widened as she studied the readings. "This pattern," she whispered. "It's not random." She pulled up old files from the central computer. "These are quantum fluctuations, but they follow a pattern. I've seen something like this before." She searched through the historical archives until she found what she was looking for. "War records," she said. 300 years old. "These are energy readings. From human ships. Not just any ships, they're dreadnoughts. The biggest warships ever built." Susan felt cold fear run down her spine. "But that's impossible," she said. "The humans are extinct. Their ships were all destroyed." Olivia nodded slowly. "But these readings match perfectly. The quantum signature is the same." They looked at each other, neither wanting to say what they were thinking. If human ships still existed, it meant humans still existed too. And if humans still existed, the Confederation had failed, and they had been living with a dangerous lie for 3 centuries, in a place between places. Catherine Ellis opened her eyes. The cryopod hissed as it opened, cold air spilling out. She blinked, adjusting to the dim light. The medical officer, Diana Turner, stood over her, checking her vital signs on a small device. "Welcome back, Admiral," Diana said. Her voice was soft. "How do you feel?" Catherine sat up slowly. Her muscles were stiff from centuries of disuse. She was tall, with short gray hair and eyes that had seen the fall of Earth. She looked around at the medical bay of Haven, their secret base hidden in a pocket dimension outside normal space. "How long?" she asked. Her voice was rough from lack of use. Diana handed her a cup of water. 300 years as planned. The preservation protocols worked perfectly. Everyone is waking up on schedule. Catherine drank the water slowly. 300 years since Earth burned, since humanity was nearly wiped out. 300 years of planning and waiting. Is the fleet ready?" she asked. Diana nodded. "The dreadnoughts are at their stations, all 7 of them. Their crews are waking up now." The upgrades and maintenance were completed 50 years ago. The ships are better than they ever were. Catherine stood up, carefully. Her legs felt strange after so long in cryosleep, but she knew her body would recover quickly. The medical technology in Haven was far beyond what humans had when Earth still existed. "Take me to the command center," she said. Diana led her, through the corridors of Haven. The base was enormous, built inside an artificial dimension, created using technology the Confederation didn't know humans had possessed. It had been their final secret, their last hope. The place where the remains of humanity could hide, recover, and plan their return. The command center was a large room with screens covering the walls showing different parts of the galaxy, maps, data, and images from hidden probes that had been watching the Confederation for centuries. Tara Wilson, the chief strategist, was already there. She stood when Catherine entered. "Admiral," she said with a nod. "It's good to see you awake." Catherine looked at the main screen, which showed the Confederation celebration near the Orion Nebula. "They still celebrate our extinction," she said quietly. "Yes," Tara replied. "They think we're gone forever. They built their whole society on that belief. 300 years of peace bought with our supposed extinction." Catherine watched the alien ships, their lights, like stars against the darkness of space. "How many?" she asked. Tara understood the question. 87 billion. Confederation citizens spread across 40,000 worlds. Their technology has advanced, but not as much as ours. They grew comfortable. They stopped innovating when they no longer feared us. Catherine nodded slowly, moving to the central console. The display changed, showing 7 massive ships hidden throughout the galaxy. The Dreadnoughts. Each one had been hidden before the final battle. Each one carried the best technology humans had developed, and each one had been improved during the long wait. "It's time," she said. Her voice was stronger now, echoing in the command center. "Activate the Nemesis." First blood goes to Captain Riley. Tara pressed a sequence of buttons on the console. A signal was sent faster than light through secret channels to the first Dreadnought. The message was simple, 2 words. "Wake up in the accretion disk of a black hole where no ship could normally survive." The Dreadnought Nemesis began to power up. Its hull was special, designed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it nearly invisible against the blackness of space. Captain Morgan Riley stood on her bridge as systems came online one by one. Her crew worked at their stations, their movements precise after centuries of simulated training in cryosleep. The quantum displacement drive hummed as it charged. The weapon systems came online. Targeting computers calibrated themselves. The ship was alive again after 300 years. And it was hungry for vengeance. The first target was already selected. A Confederation monitoring post near Proxima Centauri. The same one that had detected their energy signature time to let them know Riley said quietly that extinction didn't quite take. The Nemesis vanished from the black hole's embrace, moving through folded space to appear near the monitoring station. Its weapons charged silently in the vacuum of space. The first shots of a new war were about to be fired, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Vice Admiral Leanne Martinez received the emergency alert while sleeping. The communication device beside her bed blinked with urgent red light. She sat up immediately, years of military training erasing any trace of drowsiness from her mind. "What's the situation?" she asked as she activated the device. A holographic image appeared showing her superior officer, Commander Grelk of the Confederation Security Council. "The Proxima Centauri monitoring station has gone silent," he said. His mandibles clicked. "With worry, we need you to investigate. Take a small fleet. Maintain communication at all times." Leanne nodded. "We depart in 1 hour." She dressed quickly in her dark blue uniform with silver markings, showing her rank. As Vice Admiral of the Galactic Defense Force, she commanded respect from all species in the Confederation. She had earned her position through decades of service, though in 300 years of peace, that service had never included actual combat. Her flagship, the Justice, waited, in orbit around Centauri Prime. She boarded with her crew and gave the order to depart. 5 smaller ships accompanied them, all equipped with the best weapons and scanners the Confederation had. The small fleet jumped to light speed, heading toward The silent monitoring station. This is probably just a technical malfunction, Leanne told her bridge crew. We will likely find the station officers dealing with equipment failure. 8 hours later, the Justice dropped out of light speed near Proxima Centauri. The monitoring station should have been visible immediately, but the scanners showed something impossible. The station is in 2 pieces, said the sensor officer. Her voice trembled. The cut is perfectly straight, as if something sliced through it. Leanne stared at the image on the main screen. The space station had indeed been cut in half. The edges were smooth, not jagged, as would be expected from an explosion or collision. The 2 halves floated several miles apart, slowly spinning in the vacuum of space. Scan for life signs, she ordered. None, returned the officer. All personnel are gone. No bodies either. Leanne felt a chill run down her spine. Prepare a boarding party, she said. We need to see this up close. She led the team herself. They wore spacesuits with magnetic boots and carried standard-issue pulse rifles. The team crossed from the Justice to the larger half of the station using a small shuttle. When they entered through the emergency airlock, Leanne immediately noticed something strange. There was no damage inside, no signs of struggle, no blood, no blast marks. The station looked normal except for one thing. It ended abruptly in a perfectly smooth wall where the cut had been made. It's as if something just erased half, the station said, one of her officers running a gloved hand over the smooth edge. No weapon we know can do this. They explored further, finding the command center. The computers were still active. The last log entry had been made by Commander Susan Miller just before communication was lost. We detected unusual energy readings near the former human colony, Proxima Centauri B. Investigating further, Leanne accessed the sensor data. Her eyes widened as she saw what the station had recorded before. It was destroyed. An energy signature unlike anything in Confederation records, and a shadow briefly visible against the stars. A shadow that matched no known ship design. Download all data, she ordered. We returned to the Justice immediately, as they prepared to leave. Leanne noticed something on one of the still active screens. A message blinking in an ancient language. She recognized it from her historical studies. It was English, the primary language of humans, and the message was simple. We have returned back. In Haven, Catherine Ellis studied reports from across the galaxy. Information flowed into the command center from hidden probes and infiltration programs that had been gathering intelligence for centuries. The Confederation response to the destruction of the monitoring station was exactly as predicted. Confusion, fear, denial. They still don't understand what they're facing, said Tara Wilson, standing beside Catherine at the central console. They think it's a new enemy, or perhaps a natural phenomenon. They haven't made the connection. Yet Catherine nodded. Good. That gives us time to implement the next phase. She turned to face the gathered commanders. Each had been selected centuries ago. Each had spent those centuries in cryosleep dreaming of this moment. The moment when humanity would return to the galactic stage. The Nemesis has completed its first mission, she said. Captain Riley reports all systems functioning at optimal levels. The quantum displacement drive performed beyond expectations. The ship was not detected until it fired. And by then it was too late. The commanders nodded, some smiling grimly, others maintaining professional composure. They had all lost everything when Earth fell. Family, friends, home. Their lives had been dedicated to this moment. The beginning of Operation Phoenix. Terra activated the holographic display showing the Confederation territory. Its vast expanse made humanity's former holdings look tiny, but size wasn't everything. They've grown complacent during our absence, Terra explained. They believe their technology is superior. Their defenses are impressive but predictable. Their response times are slow. Their commanders have no combat experience, and most importantly, they believe they are safe from us. Catherine looked at each commander in turn. We have 7 dreadnoughts, she said. 7 ships against an empire. But these are not ordinary ships. They are the pinnacle of human engineering improved over centuries. Each can appear anywhere, strike and vanish, before the enemy can respond. Each carries weapons that can cut through any defense. each is crewed by the best humanity has to offer. She paused, letting her words sink in. Before we reveal ourselves fully, we will make them afraid. We will strike key targets across Confederation space. We will let them feel what it means to be hunted, to be helpless, to wonder when and where the next attack will come. They made us ghosts. Now we will haunt them. The commanders saluted as one, their faces set with determination. 3 centuries of waiting were over. The revenge of humanity had begun. On the Dreadnought Retribution, Captain Allison Foster received her mission orders. The quantum communication was instantaneous regardless of distance, another technology the Confederation didn't possess. Her target was a shipyard orbiting Tau Ceti, a major industrial center responsible for building warships for the Confederation. Fleet Allison was younger than most commanders, only 35 when Earth fell. She had dark skin and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been a tactical prodigy then. Now, after centuries of simulated training in cryosleep, she was something more. A perfect weapon aimed at the heart of the enemy. Prepare for quantum jump, she ordered. Her crew. Navigation set coordinates for Tau Ceti shipyards. Weapons prepare for precision strikes. Engineering ready displacement drive for immediate exit after attack completion. The massive ship hummed with power. Its black hull absorbed light, making it nearly invisible even at close range. Only the faint blue glow of its engines revealed its presence. Quantum jump in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reality twisted, the stars blurred, and the Retribution vanished from its hiding place near a gas giant, thousands of light years from Confederation space. In the Tau Ceti system, workers at the massive orbital shipyard went about their daily routines. They built ships they had never used in war. They installed weapons that had never been fired in anger. They served an empire that had known only peace for 300 years. The security officer noticed the anomaly first. A shadow where no shadow should be. A void in space that seemed to swallow light. Then sensors screamed warnings. A ship had appeared from nowhere directly above the main construction dock. A ship larger than any in the Confederation fleet. A ship of unfamiliar design. Allison watched the shipyard on her view screen. The structure was enormous, housing dozens of warships in various stages of construction. Perfect. No warnings, she said, her voice calm. No quarter. The Retribution fired. Precision beams cut through key structural points of the shipyard. Power cores, gravity generators, communication arrays. The strikes were surgical, avoiding the residential sections where civilian workers lived. This was not about slaughter. It was about sending a message. The shipyard began to break apart. Explosions bloomed silently in space. The incomplete warships drifted free their hulls, cut open to vacuum emergency systems. Activated evacuation pods launched, carrying workers to safety. The Confederation security ships stationed nearby finally responded. Their weapons powered up. They moved to intercept the unknown vessel. Too late. Quantum jump, Allison ordered. The Retribution vanished, leaving only destruction in its wake. The defenders fired at empty space, their weapons finding no target. The entire attack had taken less than 2 minutes. In the Haven war room, Catherine Ellis watched as similar reports came in from across Confederation space. The Dreadnoughts struck with precision and vanished before the enemy could respond. A military research facility, a fleet headquarters, a planetary defense network. Key targets all struck with surgical precision. The first phase of Operation Phoenix was complete. The Confederation now knew they faced an enemy, but they did not yet know who that enemy was. Soon, Catherine thought, soon they will remember us, and they will understand what it means to awaken humanity's wrath. The Confederation Council chamber was filled with representatives from 40 major species. The room buzzed with worried voices. The giant circular table at the center was surrounded by anxious leaders from across the galaxy. High Chancellor Vex, a tall insectoid, being called for order. His voice boomed over the noise. Silence, he demanded. We face an unprecedented crisis. The room quieted as representatives took their seats. Admiral Krazat was among them, her scaled face showing no emotion though. Inside she felt growing concern. For 3 weeks unknown vessels have appeared across our territory. High Chancellor Vex continued. They strike without warning and vanish without trace. 15 major facilities destroyed, 7 outposts abandoned there. Populations missing. And now this, he activated the central hologram. It showed images from across Confederation space, symbols burned into moons and asteroids visible from orbit. The same symbol repeated again and again. A stylized eagle with wings, spread clutching lightning bolts. "Does anyone recognize this symbol?" he asked. The room was silent. Then a small figure stood up. Dr. Laura Green, Director of Human Studies at the Galactic Historical Institute. She was one of the few who studied the extinct species. Most considered it a waste of time to study creatures that no longer existed. "It is a human military insignia," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper, specifically from their space force. It was used on their most powerful warships, the ones they called Dreadnoughts. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions and denials. Admiral Krazat remained silent, her mind racing. This was impossible. The humans were gone. Their ships destroyed their colonies, burned their homeworld reduced to ash. She had seen the records. The final victory was complete. Impossible. Dr. Green, High Chancellor Vex, said when order was restored, the humans were eliminated 3 centuries ago. Their technology was inferior to ours, their numbers too few, their worlds too vulnerable, they are extinct. Doctor. Green shook her head. The evidence suggests otherwise. The attack pattern matches human military doctrine. The targets selected show intimate knowledge of our defense network, and the quantum technology used by these ghost ships, while advanced, follows principles theorized by human scientists. Before the war, Admiral Krazat finally spoke. "If what you say is true, where have they been hiding for 300 years? And how? Have they developed technology that surpasses our own?" No one had an answer. The council meeting continued for hours with no resolution. The fear in the room was palpable. If humans had somehow survived, if they had been watching and waiting and planning for centuries, what else might they be capable of? In Haven, Chief Intelligence Officer Samantha Lee gathered her team in the Strategic Operations Center. The room was filled with screens and holographic displays showing Confederation systems. Samantha was short with intense eyes and a mind sharper than any blade. She had been the youngest intelligence operative on Earth before its fall. Now she was the architect of humanity's shadow. "War team. One report," she said. A young woman with red hair nodded. "Operation Blindside is complete," she said. "We have activated all dormant programs in the Confederation network. Their defense grid is compromised. Their communication systems are vulnerable. Their tracking systems can be manipulated at will." "Excellent," Samantha said. Team 2A man with dark skin and a serious expression stepped forward. "Operation Whisper is proceeding as planned," he reported. "Our agents have spread the rumors throughout civilian populations. The idea that humans have returned is spreading. The historical records of the war are being questioned. The Confederation's version of events is being challenged." Samantha smiled briefly. This was going exactly as planned. When Earth fell, humanity lost the conventional war. But they had planned for the long game. And now, after centuries of preparation, the real war was beginning. A war of shadows and fear. A war the Confederation didn't even know how to fight. "Send the package to Admiral Ellis," she ordered. "It's time for Phase 3 on the bridge of the Dreadnought Vengeance." Captain Beth Donovan reviewed her mission orders. The ship was hidden in the tail of a comet drifting through the outer reaches of the Sirius system. Her crew was ready, their training perfect after centuries of simulation. Beth was tall, with auburn hair and eyes that had seen Earth burn. She had been a colony governor before the war, a civilian leader. Now she was a weapon of vengeance like all survivors. The quantum communicator activated, showing Admiral Ellis. "The time has come for direct action." Catherine said, "The Confederation is confused and frightened. Now we escalate. Your target is the Arcturus Research Station, their premier scientific facility. Your mission is not destruction, but infiltration, Beth nodded, understanding. We retrieve their classified data and leave evidence of our survival. Catherine added, the Confederation has built their society on the lie of our extinction. It's time they faced the truth. The communication ended. Beth turned to her crew. The Vengeance will transport us within range of the station, she told them. Then we go in with quantum armor teams of 4. Minimal contact with enemy personnel. Our priority is data retrieval and placement of the evidence package. The crew nodded. They had rehearsed this mission countless times in simulation. They knew exactly what to do. The Vengeance activated its quantum displacement drive. Reality folded, and the massive ship vanished from the comet's tail. The Arcturus research station was the pride of the Confederation, a massive structure orbiting a neutron star. Its laboratories contained the most advanced technology and the brightest scientific minds. Security was tight with automated defense systems and elite guards, but they were prepared for conventional attacks. Not for what was coming. The Vengeance appeared 50,000 kilometers from the station, far enough to avoid immediate detection. Beth and her team donned their quantum armor suits. The technology bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. It also protected against most weapon types and allowed short jumps through space. The team entered a small transport ship and launched from the Vengeance. The transport's stealth systems kept it hidden from the station's sensors. As they approached, Beth felt her heart rate increase. This would be the first direct contact between humans and the Confederation in 3 centuries. The transport docked with an emergency airlock on the outer ring of the station. The quantum armor's systems overrode the security protocols, allowing them entry without triggering alarms. Beth led her team through the station's corridors, their movements swift and silent. The few aliens they encountered looked right through them, unaware of the invisible intruders. They reached the central data hub. The massive computer core contained the Confederation's most classified research. Beth placed a small device on the main terminal. It activated automatically, bypassing security and beginning the download of terabytes of data. While the download progressed, Beth moved to the station's central chamber, a large round room where scientists gathered to discuss their findings. She placed a small holographic projector in the center of the room. It would activate 6 hours after their departure, giving them plenty of time to escape. The data download completed, Beth's team regrouped and made their way back to the transport. They encountered no resistance. The entire operation had gone undetected. They returned to the Vengeance, which immediately jumped to safety using its quantum displacement drive. 6 hours later, in the central chamber of the Arcturus research station, the holographic projector activated. Scientists and security personnel gathered around it in confusion as an image formed. A human woman appeared. Her name was displayed as Catherine Ellis, Admiral of the Human Fleet. Her face was lined with age, her eyes hard with determination. People of the Confederation, she said, 300 years ago your leaders told you that humanity was extinct, that our threat was ended forever, that you could sleep safely in your beds knowing the dangerous apes would never threaten your peaceful civilization. The image changed, showing footage from the final war, the orbital bombardment of Earth, the systematic hunting of human colonies, the war crimes committed in the name of galactic peace. You were told we were the aggressors, Catherine continued, that we threatened your existence, that our destruction was necessary for peace. The image changed again, showing ancient records, Confederation plans for human territories, dating from before the war, discussions of the human problem. Long before humans had taken any aggressive action, your civilization is built on genocide, she said, and on lies you tried to erase us from history. Now we have returned, and we will write your epitaph. The message ended, leaving the scientists staring in horror. The truth they had never known, the history they had never been taught. The enemy they had thought long dead now returned and more powerful than ever, in Haven. Catherine Ellis watched as reports came in from across Confederation space. The message had been delivered. The truth was, Spreading Phase 3 of Operation Phoenix was complete. The Confederation now knew exactly who they faced, and the real war was about to begin. Across the Confederation worlds, chaos spread like wildfire. Riots broke out on major planets as civilians demanded answers from their governments. How had humans survived? Why had they been lied to for centuries? Was it true that the Confederation had started the war? Not humans. The Xylosian Empire, once the proudest member of the Confederation, faced internal rebellion. 3 colony worlds declared independence, refusing to fight against humans. Princess Zara, daughter of the Xylosian Emperor, addressed her father's council. "The archives don't lie, father," she said, holding up ancient data crystals recovered from a sealed vault. "Our ancestors planned the extinction of humans long before they posed any threat to us. We studied their worlds. We coveted their territories. We feared their potential. And we struck first." The Emperor hissed with anger. Silence. Those records were sealed for a reason. Humans were dangerous. They expanded too quickly. They developed technology too rapidly. They would have destroyed us all if we hadn't acted. Princess Zara stood her ground. That was the justification we were all taught. But these records show it was a lie. We attacked them because we wanted their worlds, not because they threatened us. And now they have returned, and they have every right to seek justice. The Emperor had no answer. The truth long buried was now exposed, and the Confederation was fracturing under its weight. In Haven, Admiral Catherine Ellis met with her command staff. The reports from across enemy space confirmed their strategy was working. The Confederation unity was breaking. Their military response was disorganized. Their people were questioning their leaders. The seeds of doubt planted centuries ago by human intelligence. Operatives were now bearing fruit. But we must be careful. Catherine warned we didn't survive for 3 centuries just to become what we hate. Our goal is justice, not genocide, revenge but not extinction. Captain Morgan Riley of the Nemesis nodded. The Confederation is mobilizing their fleet, Admiral. They have gathered over 3,000 ships at Centauri Prime. They plan to hunt us down. Catherine studied the tactical display. The Confederation fleet was indeed massive, but size wasn't everything, and the humans had planned for this moment for a very long time. "Activate the Archangel Protocol," she ordered. Her officers looked at each other in surprise. The Archangel Protocol was the most classified aspect of Operation Phoenix. Only Catherine and a handful of others knew its full scope. "Are you certain?" Admiral Tara Wilson asked. "This will reveal our true strength." Catherine nodded. "The time for shadows is over. The time for light has come." On the edge of Confederation space at coordinates that had been carefully calculated centuries ago, 7 quantum beacons activated simultaneously. The devices had been placed there by stealth ships long before the fall of Earth, waiting for this moment. In Haven, Samantha Lee entered the final activation. Code. "The quantum network comes online," she reported. "All sleeper ships are receiving the wake-up signal." Catherine watched as the display changed, showing hundreds of signals appearing across the galaxy. Humanity's true fleet awakening from its long slumber. When Earth fell, Catherine explained to her stunned officers, "We evacuated as many as we could, but not all came to Haven. Some went deeper into hiding. Small groups in stealth ships with cryo-sleep technology. They scattered across the galaxy, beyond Confederation sensors. They hid in nebulae and asteroid fields and gas giants in the coronas of stars. They waited. They slept. And now they wake." The tactical display showed the signals consolidating, forming into fleet groups, each centered around one of the 7 Dreadnoughts. 7 fleets emerging from the shadows. The true extent of humanity's survival revealed at last. "We are not just 7 ships," Catherine said. "We are 700. The Dreadnoughts were just the spearhead, the vanguard. Now comes the army." In Centauri Prime, Admiral Krazat received the emergency alert. Her blood ran cold as she saw the sensor readings. Hundreds of ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding the Confederation fleet. Ships of human design, but unlike any recorded in the historical archives. "It's a trap," she whispered. The communication system activated. A human face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Morgan Riley of the Dreadnought Nemesis, Admiral Krazat," she said. "We meet at last. though you don't. Know me, my grandmother knew yours. She was at the Battle of Earth. She watched your grandmother give the order to burn our homeworld. Now I give you an order. Surrender your fleet or be destroyed. Krasat hissed with defiance. We are 3,000. Ships, you are mere hundreds. Even with your advanced technology, you cannot hope to defeat us. Riley smiled a predatory expression that showed teeth. Are you certain of that? The sensors screamed new warnings, more ships appearing, using the same quantum technology that made the Dreadnoughts so deadly. More and more until they numbered over 1,000, each armed with weapons that could slice through Confederation defenses, each capable of appearing and disappearing at will for the first time in her life. Admiral Krasat felt true fear. This was not a battle. This was execution. The first shots were fired by a nervous Confederation captain. His cruiser launched a full spread of quantum torpedoes at the nearest human vessel. The torpedoes never reached their target. They vanished mid-course, intercepted by defensive systems the Confederation had never seen before. Then the human fleet responded, not with wholesale destruction, not with the genocide the Confederation had attempted against them, but with precision strikes. Weapon systems disabled, engines crippled, communications cut, ship after ship rendered harmless, but not destroyed on the bridge of the Nemesis. Captain Riley watched the battle unfold. The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, using tactics developed during 3 centuries of planning. The Confederation ships, massive but slow, tried to respond, but they were fighting an enemy that could appear anywhere, strike and vanish. Their formations broke their discipline. Collapsed Admiral Krasat watched in horror as her fleet was systematically disabled. Not destroyed but humiliated, rendered helpless in hours. Her flagship alone remained fully functional. A deliberate choice by the human commanders. A new face appeared. On her screen, Admiral Catherine Ellis, commander of all human forces, Admiral Krasat. Catherine said, "We could destroy your fleet. We have the power. We have the right after what your people did to ours. But we are not you. We do not seek extinction. We seek justice." Krasat found her voice. "What do you want?" "Recognition of war crimes." Catherine replied, "Reparations for destroyed worlds and acknowledgement of new human territories. We will take what was once ours, and you will never threaten us again." "Is that all?" Krasat asked, her voice bitter. Catherine's eyes hardened. "No. You will tell your people the truth. All of it. How the war really started, why your ancestors decided our species had to die, the lies you've told for centuries, the history you've hidden. We want the galaxy to know what was done to us and who really were the monsters." The communication ended, leaving Krasat alone with the weight of history. Her ancestors' sins, now hers to bear. The truth she had never questioned, now impossible to deny in Haven. Catherine Ellis turned away from the tactical display. Their victory was not complete, but it was decisive. The Confederation fleet neutralized their leadership, facing the truth, their people learning of the past. The galaxy would never be the same, but victory brought its own questions. What now for humanity? After centuries of planning for this moment, what would they become? Would revenge satisfy them? Or would they build something new from the ashes of the old? Heather Johnson, chief of the terraforming division, entered the command center. "Admiral," she said, "the preparations are complete. We can begin the restoration whenever you're ready." Catherine nodded. 300 years ago, humanity had lost its home, but they had preserved its essence, seeds, genetic samples, cultural records, everything needed to rebuild. "We begin tomorrow," she said, "not just with justice, but with creation. That is the true victory, not in destroying our enemy, but in rebuilding what was lost." The next phase of humanity's return was about to begin, and it would change the galaxy forever. 1 month after the Battle of Centauri Prime, representatives from the Confederation gathered on the Nemesis. The massive Dreadnought floated in space, its black hull absorbing starlight. The diplomatic shuttle approached slowly, its occupants nervous. They were the first aliens to officially meet with humans in 300 years, the first to enter a human ship since the war, the first to face those they had tried to exterminate. Inside the Nemesis, Catherine Ellis waited in the main conference room. She wore a formal uniform, dark blue with silver trim. Her face showed the weight of centuries, though she had been awake for only a short time. She was joined by her senior staff and by representatives from each of the 7 fleets. Together, they represented what remained of humanity, a species that had refused extinction. The aliens entered the room escorted by human guards. They represented the 12 major powers of the Confederation. Admiral Krazat led them, her scaled face unreadable. The others showed various signs of nervousness, fear, or in some cases, defiance. "Welcome to the Nemesis." Catherine said, her voice neutral. "I am Admiral Catherine Ellis, commander of the human fleet." Admiral Krazat stepped forward. "I speak for the Confederation. Council," she said, "we have reviewed your terms. We are prepared to negotiate." Catherine gestured to the large table. "The terms are not negotiable, Admiral. They are the price of peace. The price of your civilization's survival." The aliens took their seats, facing the human delegation. The atmosphere was tense, centuries of history hanging between them. The terms, as stated, Catherine began. Recognition of war crimes committed against humanity. Reparations for destroyed worlds. Acknowledgement of new human territories. And complete historical truth taught to all Confederation citizens. One of the aliens, a reptilian being with crimson scales, spoke up. "These terms are harsh. They would destabilize our entire civilization. Our people would lose faith in their government and their history." Captain Morgan Riley of the Nemesis leaned forward, her eyes hard. "As they should," she said. "Your civilization is built on genocide, on lies. Your people deserve the truth." Another alien, a tall being with multiple limbs and glowing eyes, raised a hand. "The reparations you demand would bankrupt several worlds. The resources required are beyond what many can provide." Samantha Lee, the intelligence chief, smiled coldly. "We have calculated exactly what each world can afford," she said. "We have monitored your economies for centuries. We know precisely what you can pay and what you owe." The negotiations continued for hours. The human terms were indeed harsh, but not designed to destroy, only to balance the scales of justice. By the end, most points were settled. A few remained contentious, but the framework of peace was established. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Krazat approached Catherine Ellis privately. "There is one question that has not been answered," she said. "Where will your people settle? There are not enough of you to reclaim all your former territories." Catherine studied the alien admiral. For centuries, her face had represented the enemy in humanity's dreams of vengeance. Now she was just another politician, trying to protect her people. "We have already chosen our new home," Catherine said. "The location is not your concern." Krazat nodded, accepting this, but she could not hide her curiosity. "How many of you survived?" she asked. "How many humans remain?" Catherine considered the question. The truth was both their greatest strength and their greatest vulnerability. "Enough," she said simply. "Enough to ensure we are never threatened again." The Confederation representatives departed their shuttle, returning to their fleet. The first official contact between humans and aliens in 300 years had ended, not with violence, but with the beginning of peace, a peace built on truth, on justice, and on power. In Haven, the work of creation had begun. The pocket dimension that had sheltered humanity's remnant for centuries was being transformed. Lieutenant Heather Johnson led her terraforming team with focused determination. She was young, born in Haven itself, the daughter of survivors. She had never seen Earth, except in historical records, but she had studied it all her life. Preparing for this moment, the massive terraforming engines hummed with power. Reality itself bent to their command. The pocket dimension expanded, becoming a sphere the size of a small planet. The machines seeded it with matter, with atmosphere, with water, the building blocks of life. The genetic vault was opened. Seeds and samples preserved from Earth were carefully removed, prepared for planting for rebirth. The DNA of animals, plants, insects, all the diverse life that had once populated humanity's homeworld, ready to live again. This is not just about survival, Heather told her team. It's about rebirth, about taking what we saved from the old Earth and creating something new, something better in orbit around the growing world. The human fleet maintained its vigil, the 7 Dreadnoughts and their support ships, the hundreds of vessels that had hidden throughout the galaxy, now gathered to protect the birth of a new home. On the bridge of the Ao, Nemesis Catherine Ellis stood with Susan Miller, the officer whose vigilance had detected the first signs of the awakening fleet. They watched as the new world took shape below them. "Is this victory?" Susan asked quietly. Catherine looked at the stars, beyond the view screen, at the galaxy that had nearly forgotten humanity, at the civilization that had tried to erase them, and at the new world being born below. "No," she said. "This is survival. Victory would be ensuring we never need to build warships again." She turned to her officers. "Let's make that our next mission." The communication system activated. Captain Riley appeared on the screen. "Admiral," she said, "the Confederation diplomatic shuttle is requesting permission to dock." Catherine raised an eyebrow. They were not expected. "Curious," she said. "Allow them to dock. I'll meet them in the docking bay." Catherine waited as the shuttle's doors opened. Admiral Krazat emerged alone. She carried a small container. "What brings you back so soon, Admiral Ho?" Catherine asked. Krazat held out the container. "When your people revealed themselves, when you showed us the truth of our history, I ordered a search of our most restricted archives. I found something I believe belongs to you." Catherine took the container, opened it. Inside was a small crystal data drive, ancient by modern standards. She recognized it immediately. "The Earth Archive," she whispered. "One of 5, created before the fall, containing the complete cultural heritage of humanity. 4 were taken to Haven. The 5th was lost, believed destroyed." Krazat nodded. "My grandmother took it as a trophy, after the bombardment of Earth. It has been in my family for generations, a reminder of our greatest victory. Now I return it to its rightful owners." Catherine held the crystal carefully. It contained treasures beyond price. Art, literature, music, philosophy, history, the soul of humanity preserved in crystal. "Why?" she asked. "Why return this now?" Krazat was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Because 300 years ago my people tried to erase yours from history. We failed. And in failing we became something less than we could have been. Perhaps in returning this small piece of your past, I can help my people face our future. The future we must build, knowing what we did, and what we must never do again." Catherine studied the alien admiral, seeing her not as an enemy now, but as something more complicated. A product of her history, struggling to move beyond it. Just as humanity was. 2 days later the new world received its name. Not Earth, that was gone forever with all its beauty and flaws, but something new. Hope. The first human world in 3 centuries. A place to begin again as the terraforming neared completion, as the first plants took root, as the sky turned blue and the oceans filled. Catherine Ellis stood on the surface. She felt wind on her face for the first time since Earth had fallen. She watched clouds form in the manufactured sky. She breathed air that smelled of life around her. The survivors gathered. The crew of the Dreadnoughts, the sleeping fleet, the children born in Haven. They were few compared to what humanity had once been, but they had survived. They had endured. They had returned in orbit. The Nemesis and the other 6 Dreadnoughts maintained their watch, guardians of humanity's rebirth, their black hulls no longer hidden, now a visible reminder to the galaxy that extinction had failed, that humanity lived, that justice had been served, and in the first city built on hope, in a special building designed for the purpose, the Earth Archive was installed. Its crystal matrix connected to the New World's network, its contents made available to all human survivors. The knowledge, the art, the culture of the old world, preserved to inspire the new. The aliens had thought the humans were extinct. They had celebrated that extinction for 3 centuries. They had built their civilization on that belief. But they had been wrong. Humanity had survived in the shadows, waiting, planning, preparing, And when their dreadnoughts returned, the galaxy learned the truth, that some species refuse to die. Even when the universe itself seems set against them, they endure, they remember, and eventually they return for humanity. That return was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning, the end.